And that's what I tell them. Don't get so caught up in okay, I'm going to turn pro and I'm going to go here, because the money in bodybuilding isn't the same anymore. The contracts aren't the same. And I've had a lot of guys reach out to me and tell me like, hey, like, you know, how do I land a sponsorship, or how do I land this, how do I land that? I go, first of all, if you don't know how to run social media platforms as a business tool, how do you expect a company to want to sign you? Like, why would a company come over and give you $5,000? Because you're posting a picture of yourself drinking a pre-workout?
What's up, you guys? Welcome to another episode of BDS TV. Today's guest is Horacio. He's trained hundreds of people, not to mention top influencers in this community and outside of the States. Horacio, my main man. I've known you for years, man. What's going on with you, brother? How you
Chilling,
been?
Man, chilling. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Appreciate it. Lately I've gotten heavily into training people.
Okay.
You know, from all sorts of, you know, backgrounds. I have businessmen, I have social media influencers, I have competitive bodybuilders, you know. I get hit with a large demographic, which is cool because my background is bodybuilding. And as you know, I was trained by Cormier.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So,
you were with him for a while.
A long time.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
Total of 14 years.
Yeah, when I was with Charles, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So went with him while I was a teenager, you know, kept on going, and when you come from that type of a background and people see that style of training,
Serious training.
yeah, most people get a little intimidated by it.
Of course.
But as I got out of the bodybuilding scene, I went more into the how can I make money off my craft.
Right.
I didn't want to get stuck as a bodybuilder relying on contracts because you have to compete and say you don't do well, you know, because I mean we all take a hit.
Yeah.
Or an injury, you know, that's which has happened to me.
You did have an injury. I remember that.
Big
yeah,
injury.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. I want to get to that. That was a big one. I remember that.
You know, you go through all these emotions and all these phases in life, and the most important thing is, you know, you always got to make sure that you can take care of yourself.
Right.
And the biggest thing with me was I want to be able to get up every single morning and look forward to doing what I do, because a lot of people don't.
Most.
You know, yeah, most people. Most people will get up and, you know, there are things that people do want to do, and I didn't want to be one of those people. Even though I stopped competing for a while, I still wanted to be around it.
Right.
You know, seeing guys get ready was exciting. You know what I mean? I remember how Chris would get excited, how Sean Ray would get excited, you know, going through posing and watching these guys when I was a kid. I mean, you saw them too through YouTube, through magazines. Like, these guys were the top guys in the world.
Cool. Yeah.
You know,
Most exciting part.
Yeah.
Of bodybuilding.
And
ever.
what made it even more exciting for me, until this day, it doesn't really faze me as much anymore, but seeing somebody in a magazine and videos on stage, especially at the level that they made it to and they were at, was almost like meeting like the Magic Johnsons, Michael Jordans, the Kobe Bryants of the sport.
Incredible feeling.
Now I can just text them and they text me, like, hey, let's go get something to eat.
Isn't that great?
You know what I mean?
Great,
so
but it's great. Sometimes we don't remember how awesome or how blessed we are to be able to be in that. Right?
Yeah, and I sincerely appreciate that, because I look at my life and I look at how all these other people are trying to do things, and the one thing I tell people is that I humbled myself to understand that if I wanted to be great at what I do, then I'm going to have to learn from somebody who has been there, who has surpassed, and has gotten to a place that I one day hope to get at.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't want to do that.
Yeah.
They don't want to put their pride to the side and go, you know what? I'm not as good as I think I am, or I need to learn more.
Right.
Because if you're not open to learning more, then you're never going to progress the way you think you're going to.
Yeah. A lot of people actually are stubborn in the way they are thinking, and they entrench their feet. And not at the end of it, they end up hurting themselves, right?
Absolutely.
you know.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And I learned a lot from him, especially Chris. Chris wasn't just a trainer to me. He was like a father.
Wasn't he great?
Yeah,
He
oh
was
my
always
gosh.
a great person to be around,
Yeah.
wasn't he? I mean, never said anything bad about anybody,
No, man.
you know.
Just kept to himself, and if he didn't like something, he'd tell you.
Yeah,
You
he
know,
was always
that's
cool.
just how
yeah.
it was. But he was respectful about it. But I just being around him was it was cool, man, because there was the bodybuilder Chris, and then there was just the normal person Chris, and I got to see both of those, and you know, Chris was like the bad boy of bodybuilding.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I heard stories.
He was a bad boy.
I heard stories. Yeah.
But because of those experiences and things that he went through, he would sit me down and be like, "Hey, you know," he would give me advice based on the things that he did. Like, "Hey, don't go down this road because of this."
That's cool.
You know, so he kept me away from a lot of it. I know during one time we both were training in Venice. You were training with Charles. I was training with Chris, and you know, everybody had their own like little cliques and posses and stuff. And you know, there was the partying, there was the people that were doing all these things, and you know, I do know for a fact that I know you weren't involved in a lot of those things, and I saw certain things, and Chris was always be like, "Man, you don't want to be doing any of that."
It takes away so much time from your life and what your craft and actually what you're trying to accomplish and go to in life.
Yeah, I for me, going to Venice and training wasn't like a dream come true. It was just I went there because of Chris. Yeah. You know, to me, a gym was a gym. Yeah. I grew up in Orange County, born and raised.
You're local.
Yeah, so you know, down here we had Coliseum, which was Milos's gym.
Oh yeah.
So I got to see guys at an age where it's like most people are never going to be able to see these guys because the era of those guys is done.
Oh yeah.
There was Metrics, which is down here in Costa Mesa, where you know Nasser used to train at. Sean would train there a few times. I know Jay would come down here a few times. So there wasn't very many gyms that were just really dedicated to bodybuilding. And if there were, they were bigger, but the bigger names would go there. But I knew like, hey, you know, if I want to be around these guys and I want to do this, then I got to go over there.
Yeah.
Again, I humble myself to be around these guys because a lot of guys will go to a gym, right? They always want to feel like the bigger guy, the leaner guy, like, oh shit, look at this guy. But they don't want to go to a gym where guys are 10 times bigger than you, stronger than you.
They want to be the big fish in the pond, right?
You know, they don't want to go to a Venice Gold to see Dexter Jackson training. You know, to see On Nguyen, he used to be down there. You were down there. You know, Charles Glass was down there. I mean, at any given day, you would see a top guy.
Every day.
Every
day.
And
every day.
A lot of people they don't want to be around that.
Yeah.
You know, but you have to be around that in order to be like, hey, I have to now step my game up if I want to be in the position this man's at. So for me, it was all fun, man, because I was young. I was really young when I was doing it. So I didn't care, you know, who was bigger, what they were winning, who was doing the Olympia. I want everybody to succeed. Yeah. And if I can talk to them, you know, that was exciting for me because, you know, you build a network of people. And for me, it was just about being cool with people, minding my own business. And, you know, if I saw people training, I'm like, hey, that's cool. You know, awesome for you. You know, but not everybody thinks like that.
No, most don't. Most don't. Most will actually, you know, get so caught up. I mean, some people actually, you know, start winning and then all of a sudden they'll lose one time and then they'll quit the whole sport completely just for one loss. Or, you know, they won't like the experience or they've been taught wrong or they had a bad dietitian, or there's so many things that can go wrong when you're trying to compete. That's another thing, you know, but not only just people just not always wanting what's best for you, it's a very vain sport for the most part. And I think it's actually gotten worse. I think it's gotten worse personally. Well, because now I'm backstage, no one's laughing anymore. No one's joking around. No one's smiling. Everyone's serious. They're staring at walls, you know, looking down. I get you're here, you made it to the show, but you know, you've eaten. You should feel pretty cool right now. It shouldn't be that, you know. And I feel like I'm not even saying hello to anybody backstage anymore. It just kind of just seems like a, you know, like a detention. When you go into detention. That's why, you know, and a lot of people aren't, like you go to some of these fitness industries and fitness expos and some people just kind of shine you on. Some people do, you know, especially if they just won. So, I mean, that's just something that I've noticed, like, because, you know me, I'm a really genuine guy. Like I go out, I put my heart on my sleeve. I'm say what's up to everybody. And I'm like a pretty well-rounded individual. You know, I would say I'm more loyal than most. You know, I held respect to a high standard and stuff. So, I mean, for me, that's what I kind of see that has kind of changed is that not everyone's as connected the camaraderie seems like a lot of it's been lost. I mean, even Gold's Gym, how many bodybuilders we got in there now? You know,
I haven't been back to Gold's since I'm gonna say right before quarantine.
oh wow, it's been that long.
Yeah.
You still haven't been back.
I still haven't been back.
They've done some pretty cool stuff there.
I've heard that the setup is a little different.
Yeah.
The last time I went back there is when I was training with Chris Embryon,
Okay.
and then quarantine hit.
Okay. So you haven't been back since.
I haven't been back since, and even before that,
So you weren't going before then.
no.
Oh, is
No.
there a reason why, or you just
Well,
were
Chris
just,
wasn't there.
Okay.
You
Yeah,
know,
I kind of would do the same thing if Charles wasn't there. The same thing.
It's not the, it's not the same.
Yeah.
You know, like I would go to train with him.
Yeah.
Just as when he was in Palm Springs, I went to Palm Springs to train with him. I would never go to Palm Springs. I'm not one to sit out in the sun for an hour. I'm like, I get bored. I'm like, I can't do this.
Drive alone.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not doing any of that.
alone.
But
Yeah.
to go see him
Yeah.
and train with him, that's what I would do, which is the only reason why I would go out there. I recently just went to the gym out in San Diego.
Okay.
Again, to train with him, just to see him and stuff and catch up. Like, although we talk on the phone all the time, and he's always sending me memes on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I'll call him and he won't pick up, and I'm like, "Are you playing video games?" He's
probably playing video games.
while he's working and training a client and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the only reason why I would actually go down there. I never went down there just to train at Venice. It was never my thing.
Yeah.
I was just like, what am I going to drive down there for? It's going to take me about 50 minutes, an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And the reason I don't like driving down there is because before I moved down there and I was living with Chris in Marina Del Rey, when I was staying with him, I would drive to Venice from Anaheim 6 days a week.
Oh, that's a long drive.
Yeah.
I've made that drive too.
Yeah.
I made that drive too.
And I
That's
did that
long.
for a couple of years.
Couple years.
After that, I was like, there's no way
Yeah.
that I'm going to continue to do this because this is tiring.
Yeah.
Like, I would have to time my day like precisely, because if I wasn't on the freeway before 9:30,
Oh yeah.
then I was going to hit traffic. So I had a time, the time I left to the time I get there. And then during the time I'd get there, that's the hour we would train. Everybody would train at that time. So it'd be around, I would get to Gold's Venice 10:30, 10:45. Took me about an hour. Eat my meal, go inside, train. And I had to not rush my workout, but make sure that I wasn't resting as much so I can leave and hit the road before 1 o'clock.
Wow.
Because if not, I'd have to get on the 405 to the 105, 105 all the way down to the 605, 605 all the way down to the 91, 91 take that all the way down.
Yeah.
And by the time I got to the 605, I would either have to pull over, take a nap in a parking lot.
Driving is exhausting.
Oh my gosh.
Driving is exhausting. I don't think people understand how exhausting, especially in traffic.
Especially when you're dieting.
Yeah. And,
Especially when you're dieting, you're hungry, you're already tired as it
let's
is.
not talk about Friday traffic in LA.
Yeah, no. And so because I did that for so long, that's another reason why I wouldn't just randomly go train at Gold Venice. I'm like, for what?
Did he ever do any diets for you? Does he do diets as well?
Yeah.
He did. So he went through a whole show process with you. Oh, wow. Okay. So can you talk a little bit about that? Like how that was? Like how intense he took, like, because I remember he took dieting aspect his clients very seriously. That's what I do know.
Oh, man. Chris is all about conditioning. He don't care how big you can get.
Right.
He goes, a lot of people can get big. He's like, but it's going to take a level of suffering that I can't even express to you, that only someone who's actually been there
Right.
can be like, listen, you're going to feel hot. Your body's just going to feel like fatigued. Some people get really irritated. Some people get really quiet. Most people just get quiet. And you're just constantly burning.
Yeah.
And if you're experiencing that, you're just constantly, your body's just hot all the time.
Oh, I've done some shows, man.
You,
Trust me.
you drink water, you eat,
know,
you just sweat.
Yep.
You're just tired.
Yep. Last week especially is the worst.
Oh man, it's and if you can keep pushing yourself, then you can achieve a certain level of conditioning, and there's levels to that.
But didn't he hang out with you as well? Like during the last prep, like you were staying the night,
All the time.
watching you like consistently.
I had he had the extra bedroom.
That's how serious he took it.
Yeah, I had an extra bedroom in his like condo, and that was my room.
Oh, that was cool, man.
You know, so I'd get up for water, and you know, he'd be like, "Hey, what? Let me see your abs."
Really?
Yeah,
It'd be that intense.
it'd be that intense.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Let's go hit some posing.
I think you're just waking up from a
Nap or
take a
you know,
piss or
up for
something.
cardio. You know,
3 o'clock in the morning.
3
Let's
o'clock.
go.
Yeah. Hey, what? When you're done training, go town on the beach.
Yeah.
What? Oh, you know, I want to go lay down.
Yeah.
Like I want to like sleep. You know.
Right?
But I never took it. You know, some people get mad. They get mad. They get upset and stuff. The only time I didn't get mad with him, I was so hungry.
The only time you didn't get mad at him,
Yeah,
or
was-
the only time you got mad at him?
I got mad, but it wasn't.
At him.
It wasn't at him, because
It was at the sandwich that fell on the floor.
Yeah.
Something like that.
No, it's funny because he loved pastries,
Oh, he did?
and
Did he eat them in front of you?
all the time.
Oh,
All the time. We would go to that Ralph's.
Yeah?
Where you go down with a apartment condo complex, and you can literally just walk to the Ralph's.
oh wow.
Like right when you get off that freeway.
Yeah, I know what's that.
What's up, everybody? I'm Big Daddy Swolls. Hopefully, you're enjoying your entertainment on BDS TV. If you are, please make sure to give me a like, comment, and subscribe so you guys can be the first to be notified about new content that's released. Also, be sure to check out my website, my music page, my social media platforms, and our merchandise store, all listed on the links below.
So we'd go there, and you know, it'd be, you know, tilapia, it would be broccoli, it'd be asparagus, it'd be chicken, and then it would be donuts, bread, like whatever he was craving. Never bothered me.
Wow.
Never bothered me, because I understood one thing. I chose to do this.
Yeah.
You know, he's not doing this anymore.
Yeah. Some people don't understand that aspect of it. They get mad at people eating.
And you know
in front
what?
of them and
They
stuff,
need
too.
to, because the world is not going to change because you're doing something.
Yeah, it's true.
That, I don't care what
But it
anybody
goes back to
says.
being a vain sport, you know. It becomes. I always felt like it. Bodybuilding should be used. I mean, it's very few. I always feel like, you know, if you're under 6 foot, go for it, you know, and you got some good shape. But if you're over 6 foot, I think it's going to be really hard for you to be a bodybuilder. I do, for the most part.
Oh, absolutely.
Me personally. But you know, for me, as I got less serious, I shouldn't say less serious, but more aware of what bodybuilding was, I wish I would have done more videoing or more things like as I'm about to start doing now. You know, and just kind of just stay in the way of people that are going to be your fans, because that stage does not mean the be all end all for anybody, for that matter.
No.
You're being judged by 6 people about how tight your skin is, and a water pill could just mess that up. I mean, just one little water pill, that's the whole show. Boom, you did all this work, and then boom, your whole show was ruined. All that prep, everything for that, you know, a couple minutes on stage. That doesn't, just because of how much of a water pill you take, doesn't define who you are. And I think a lot of people get upset. They get that inside them, that, you know, and then they get a bad placing. It's just, it doesn't define you being judged by 6 people, 8 people. I mean, whoever it is that day. It doesn't define you. It's just a show. And that's what I always tell people. It's just a show. If there's money involved, yeah, there's money involved, but don't let it ruin anything you have. That's what I tell everybody, you know, because people do get their feelings hurt. They get in their feelings really bad sometimes. I see people crying backstage, throwing things, you know, getting mad at their girlfriends getting mad at their boyfriends. It's like, it's not that serious. Yes, take it serious as far as the competition aspect goes, but don't take it to where you're going to ruin everything else in your life. That's kind of like, I
Yeah.
always like, you know, that's a hard lesson to learn too, especially being young.
Taking a loss isn't always easy, because you feel like you failed yourself. You feel like you failed whoever supported you. You know, you put a lot of time and effort into this. But like, you know, talking to the younger guys now, when they're in their like early 20s, you know, doing things that I'm just like, hey, like, good for you. I always tell them, I go, at the end of the day, you have to understand something. I said, bodybuilding's a business.
Yeah.
I know guys that won the USAs. Haven't heard from them since.
Sometimes that's all they'll do. I mean, that's probably what I'll end up doing.
Yeah.
Like if I'm still planning on competing.
And that's
Yeah.
where I tell them, I was like, if you can achieve that, do something with it. Mm-hmm. Especially if you're a trainer.
Yeah.
If you're a trainer and you're winning shows, then that's really good on your resume, because then people are going to look at you and go, this guy beat all these people. I want to work with the number one guy. Everybody always looks at the number one guy and goes, I want to work with that guy.
Yeah.
Or if that's
or a physique that they like.
Yeah.
Or a physique that they like.
and that's what I tell them. Don't get so caught up in okay, I'm going to turn pro and I'm going to go here, because the money in bodybuilding isn't the same anymore. The contracts aren't the same. And I've had a lot of guys reach out to me and tell me like, hey, like, how do I land a sponsorship, or how do I land this, how do I land that? I go, first of all, if you don't know how to run social media platforms as a business tool, how do you expect a company to want to sign you? Like, why would a company come over and give you $5,000? Because you're posting a picture of yourself drinking a pre-workout?
They'll do that for free. There's millions of people that are doing that for free.
Yeah.
Just because they just want to be a part of it. Or they'll
Exactly.
take like $50 or something like that,
And then they get upset like, but I'm not getting more out of it. Why would you get more? You have to be a value to a company to understand, okay, you know what? This person's a value to us. They're generating cash flow to us, because if I give you product, that's still something that I paid for.
Definitely.
Whether it was 12, 15, 20 bucks, and I gave you a total of $150 a month. That's a tax write-off for me because I'm using you as an advertisement.
100%. A lot of people don't know that.
No.
Especially if you got $1 billion corporation, they're going to want to spend those tax write-offs properly. Even though it's money that they do have to write off, they still want to grow their business and the revenue.
Yeah.
Those write-offs the right way. So just because people will consider a tax write-off, because don't get upset when people say a sponsorship is a tax write-off. It is a business expense. So don't get upset, but no, it's just a tax write-off. No, it's a business expense, and those expenses need to be paid and utilized wisely. So so I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to touch on that, because there's some people that get mad when they say, I'm just a tax write-off.
No, it's true. And then I point one big thing out to them, and this is where they kind of take a step back to understand that, like, okay, you're right, because I never thought about it like that, because no one ever put it to them like that.
Right. You got to bring value.
I go, a company generates business off of what? Advertisement. If I have 10 people who are like, hey, send me some clothes and some products and I'll post for you, they're going to handle all the content for me. How much is a content creator?
Right.
That's pretty expensive. Unless you get some kid straight out of college, wants to make a couple $100, but then if you want high quality stuff, how much is that going to cost you?
Yeah. It depends. Yeah.
It's actually cheaper to just get a couple people, be like, hey, use this code. Here's a couple, shirts and some shorts, whatever they give people, and just tag us. Make sure you tag us, and they still give you a list of things to do.
Oh, yeah.
You have to do it this many times a week, this many times a month. Make sure you put on your stories, this many stories a month, and tag us in everything that you do. So you basically are creating more business for them, and say, for example, you're making $200 a month off of this. The company could be generating $5,000-$10,000.
Yeah. Well, see, my thing is, it's $200 a month. Like, I look at that. Like, for someone like me, I would like, what is that? Like a steak dinner for me, like, like,
That's
it's because how I like to eat. How I like to,
It's a real,
Yeah.
When I go to Chick-fil-A with my family,
Right.
and they're eating, it's like $30.
Right.
When I'm eating,
Bring on the plates, baby.
it's like $80-some.
At least.
And that's just one meal.
Yeah.
I'm going to eat again in 3 hours and
Right.
4 hours, and that's going to be the same amount of money.
Right.
I probably go to the grocery store 5 or 6 times a week.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah, and we'll go to
It's
Trader
pretty
Joe's.
normal for a bodybuilder, right?
bodybuilder,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
pretty normal. They don't understand. Bodybuilders and the other competitors, it's probably a little bit different. When they're talking about a real bodybuilder that competes.
My significant other, she eats very healthy. I'm the one where I'm not dieting. I'm a normal person. I disconnect myself from everything.
Oh yeah.
I give myself that break, and I've always done that, because when I get back into it, I look forward to it.
Yeah.
I get that, like, man, this is fun.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
looking in the mirror, you're like, okay, I like to look good. I like to look big. My definition of what I look to look like is not the same for a normal man.
Oh yeah.
And as my size, especially being 5'9", you know, without dieting, training, cardio, eating whatever I want once or twice a day, I stay at 260 pounds. It will not break.
It's not bad. Well, you know how to maintain your weight without gaining any fat, and if you're building muscle, you might go up, you know. But it just
But that's also not working out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So when have you not worked? Like, wait, so you're not working out right now?
I stopped training for 3 months.
3 months? Why is that?
Didn't feel like it.
Just didn't feel like it?
Just didn't want to go.
Sometimes that is okay. I took years off of bodybuilding because I became such a job to me, and it's because like maybe I couldn't land my diet towards the end. I stopped being able to land my diet. So it just kind of became like I have to take care of myself for a little while mentally, and sometimes you have to step away, take a break, because I was seeing everything change into the social media world, because I came in where they were still in magazines, still the bodybuilders running around Gold's Gym. There weren't cameras anywhere. That's when I came in. I came in like when I think you were a little young buck walking around, 19 years old.
Yeah, I mean,
that's when I met you. Yeah,
when content,
you were huge for 19. I was like, wow.
I was a little.
You're a beast.
I was a lot bigger than what I was supposed to be, especially for that age. But because being around these guys, I was able to advance so much faster, and so much quicker.
Well, people were talking about you.
Yeah.
Yeah, people were talking about you. I heard your name through the grapevine for a while. Yeah, so before I even met you.
During that era when we were at Gold's, if you saw someone filming, it was because Jordan Blackman was in the area.
Oh yeah,
for Muscular Development.
Yeah, okay.
And if you were getting filmed, you
I love Jordan. That's my guy.
You were getting some attention.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, and Jordan was dope. Yeah,
it's super cool, man.
Yeah.
Like the one thing I liked about it back then, where Muscular Development, they were gonna film you or post you on like the video that they had on the website. They would fly Jordan out, and he'd be everywhere.
Oh yeah.
And at that time, I was like, man. How cool would it be to like do a video and be on Muscular Development?
Oh yeah.
And I remember when I got the call from Chris, and he's like, "Hey, we're gonna do the interview with Jordan at like 2:00."
Okay.
And I said, "Okay, when?" He goes, "Today." I don't really get nervous.
Really?
But I was like, "Oh man," because this is a platform that's gonna be seen by the world.
Yeah, and that's mostly all they had to tap into, because I think they were the only ones doing videos at that time.
They were the biggest.
The only ones were doing videos.
They were bigger than Flex Magazine.
Yeah.
And so to get with that was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And some people can perform and they can perform in front of a group of like 10, 15 people. They can get a little nervous. Yeah. But when you sit there and you're like, no, this is going to be watched by millions of people.
Yeah.
I better make sure that I'm on it. And
at
at that time I was dieting. When I would train at Gold's, I would always wear a hoodie.
Yeah.
Sweatpants.
That was the way to go.
I always covered up.
That was the way to go. That's what we were told to do.
Don't show anybody anything. Don't show anybody anything.
Like, all right.
Yeah.
And
not like it is now. Show everything.
Yeah, it's like a stringer. I'm like, it's not stringer season, bro.
Yeah.
I went in there, I was filming with him, and I saw Charles in there. I forgot who he was training. And Charles never saw me without a hoodie. And I stripped down. Chris was like, I started pumping up, got into the workout. Chris was explaining it. We were talking a little bit. They mic'd me up. And, it was time for me to strip down. And it was the first time I wore a tank top out of all the times that I was training at Gold's.
For the video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Charles walked by, looked, and he stopped. Yeah. And walked over to Chris and goes, I did not know he looked like that.
Isn't that great to get a compliment from?
Oh my God, absolutely.
Not only Chris, but Charles.
Because
Charles, I'm gonna tell you, Charles never gave me compliments. Okay, he never gave. He told other people about me. So I'm a little mad that you got a compliment and I didn't get a compliment. Because Charles, I think. Yeah, no, he look good. He keeps moving. You know what I mean? I think because he knows like maybe I had a little bit of an ego already.
Maybe.
So maybe he didn't want to pump it up anymore. But yeah, you got a compliment from Charles, so that's a win, man. That's a big W right there.
The compliment that I took from Charles for anybody was that they understood that I was serious.
Yeah.
That was the most important to me. I didn't care what anybody says. People would say things all the time like, "Oh, you're not in shape. You know, why do you always wear a hoodie? Why do you always wear baggy pants? Why do you wear, you know what I mean? I always cover up. I go, this is how I like to train. You know, there would be a few people in there that would kind of say things that get under my skin and stuff, and I just brush it off.
Oh man,
you know. But because I knew, I was like, man, like, and Chris would tell me, he's like, dude, he's like, if you were to step on stage right now because of what I've seen, he's like, you would smoke all these guys, because everybody keeps wondering what you look like. Just keep doing your thing,
right?
And I said, okay. So, you know, when that day came, it wasn't to try to catch anybody's attention. I was just doing what I was told, you know, and so. You know, for him to come over and like, I did not know you look like that, and Chris is like, I told you.
That's great, man.
You know, for me, it was also like a proud moment because Chris was proud. You know, when someone dedicates that much time and effort into you, you know, it's because they actually believe in you. You know, and he never pressured me to do things that I didn't want to do. You know, he understood when it got hard. He understood, like, hey, look, I know what you're going through.
That's cool.
I know that you're tired. You know, he wasn't like, man, you have to go do your cardio right now. He understood that I was like burning out. I was burning out. I was exhausted.
Yeah.
And, you know, there'd be days he'd be like, hey, just go get some rest. You know, he'd give me a hug. I mean, the man treated me like a son. It got to the point where he's like, hey, this is like my son. Till this day, he introduces me to people. He'd be like, hey, this is like my son.
Oh, wow.
Anywhere we go. I went
That's
to
cool.
the Excalibur in San Diego.
Oh,
last year.
They moved it down there.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's down there now.
Yeah,
okay,
and
cool.
you know, he sees me from across. Like, there's a stage. I'm over here. He's over here. Just people are trying to talk to him. Like, pushes up. He's like wearing his blazer. He's all dressed up now.
Yeah.
And comes over and gives me a hug and just, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
he's always, you know, him and I have always had that bond.
He's got to cover up the belly now with all
Yeah,
the pastries.
I know that he was working out. He's been doing some cardio
I
stuff.
see that belly, Chris. What's up, man? I saw that belly the other day, man. I saw a video you posted. Man, over here yelling at people, man.
Yeah, but you know,
Love
that
you, man.
that was a cool moment for me where it's I look back at it and I'm like, you know what, out of everything that I've done, I did a lot of great things.
Yeah.
You know, which is honestly why I became such a great trainer.
Well, I mean, look at you now. I mean, you were worried about millions of people looking at you. Now you have a following of 100 and something thousand. Yeah.
And you know, it's funny.
And you're training with
I,
some of the best people still, and relevant people that are actually still running. I mean, you actually trained someone that Joe Rogan followed, if I stand correct. And that kid is strong.
What's up, everybody? I'm Big Daddy Swolls. Hopefully you're enjoying your entertainment on BDS TV. If you are, please make sure to give me a like, comment, and subscribe so you guys can be the first to be notified about new content that's released. Also, be sure to check out my website, my music page, my social media platforms, and our merchandise store, all listed on the links below.
Right?
AJ,
right?
Yeah.
It's just incredible. Like, I saw him lifting. I didn't think he was going to be able to lift that kind
Yeah.
of weight. I was impressed. I was like, wow, AJ's.
Yeah, I actually I didn't know who he was when I actually first met him. It was after he saw me at the gym that my girlfriend was training at. She was training clients there, small gym in LA, not small, but a private gym.
Okay.
And I ended up meeting him at the gym that I train at. And he showed up with the owner of the gym because they were dropping off some gym equipment. And I actually met him. That was the first time I met him. Never spoke to me about training or anything, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, nice to meet you. I don't care less.
Right. You know, just
about
another person
who
in
you are.
passing.
I was like, yeah, good for you.
Yeah, another person in passing.
And he actually reached out to me and he came by and talked to me. And it just came down to like, you know what? He hit a place where a lot of us hit, where you're doing so well, and all of a sudden you hit like a crossroads. And you're kind of just like, okay. And for him, it was, I lost a lot of weight.
Right.
But what's next?
Right.
And that's what I told him. And I go, you've capped out that. You just lost weight. Now you want to build a physique, but you don't know how. Because all you had to do was focus on losing weight. And honestly, losing weight is easy.
Yeah.
If you just had to lose weight for a bodybuilding show.
I'll do it in a couple months.
and not work out like you have to. It's honestly really easy.
Yeah, if you know what you're doing.
Yeah,
and you have that discipline. You do have to have some kind of discipline. But if you know
that's your expertise, piece of cake.
Yeah.
But then you want to get to the point where he's like, I want to compete.
Right.
I said, okay. I watched him train, and I said, all right, well, look, you want to compete? I said, that's an art form. From the way you move, from the way you train, through the amount of weight that you're going to use, to the time that you rest, like everything comes into play to this diet. So I started working with him.
Okay.
And it was cool because he wasn't used to that, and it was like simple things where I think we were doing back. First exercise, he like ran to the restroom, started throwing up, and I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, dude, I'm not used to this. And I said, but you're not doing anything hard.
Really? It was that much of a shock to his body.
And
oh, wow.
A lot of people are like that because in bodybuilding, what do you do when you train? You contract, you squeeze, you throw a negative in there, throw some drop sets in there.
Yeah.
You either do a superset, a giant set, a triple set. Like a lot of things go into it.
Yeah.
For somebody who's been working out, that's not the norm.
Right.
Now you're getting, now you're throwing some dance moves at them. You're like, whoa, what are you doing? I just know how to two-step.
Right. Well,
Now
there's also muscles you're teaching them how to
Yeah.
contract as well, new muscles. And then as muscles grow, now you have new muscles you've got to learn to contract as well. That's this compound muscle movements. They just compound in different ways to flex on top of each other. So you have to learn how to control those movements as well, which, but that kid
So,
is,
I was able to help him out and teach him what I can. And I've always told him that. I was like, always take everything that you do and apply it. And what works for you, use it. What doesn't, throw it out.
Wow.
Because eventually when it comes to stepping on stage, I said, that's completely different from what you're doing now.
Wow.
The
So
diet's
did he compete?
No, he ended up moving to Vegas.
Okay.
And I see him training. I still follow his Instagram. I know he started a podcast and all that.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's actually getting ready for a show.
Oh, nice.
But the show that he wanted to do was actually for somebody who's overweight and then they go step on stage. I don't know if you've ever seen those.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, so for him, he still has a lot of skin that needs to get off.
Well, tell some of these people what that show is, just in case the people that are interested in.
So it's basically a bodybuilding show, but it's only for people who went through an extreme weight loss, and then started building that most that bodybuilder look type of physique.
Wow, I never even know they had those type of shows.
Although he still has the excessive skin and he's not going to get the surgery, he's still going to compete like that, and there's a category for that.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I know we've talked about it and stuff, and he told me he was going to start prepping for one when he moved out to Vegas. Right. So I think that's actually what he's doing right now.
Oh, that's cool. Because I saw that kid underneath some serious weight.
Yeah,
I saw him underneath some serious weight, and I did when I shook his hand, I walked up to him and I don't shake men's hand too hard nowadays because how I kind of got a medium for the girls and the guys, because that dude came up and crushed my hand. I'm like, okay, he came out looking like that out of the handshake, right? So I was like, oh, okay, are you serious? So I was like, all right, yeah, whatever, dude. Okay, you want to flex on me? Okay, yeah, all right, flex on Big Swole.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I go into the corner. And I hear some grunting. I'm like, what's that guy grunting about? And I look over there, and he's just loaded up with plates. I was like, oh, man, okay. He must have took some pre-workout before he shook my hand because, that dude has got some serious weight on him. And I saw you training him. And I was like, man, I walked up to you. I was like, man, dude, he's not playing around. That's some serious weight. And then you told me, Joe Rogan was so impressed by him.
Yeah. It's funny because I had no idea.
That's how seriously incredible this kid did a transformation from what he did. That's incredible. That you draw some attention like that because most of the time you're not drawing too much attention from people, because they're hard to impress because they've actually worked so hard to get where they're at. So when you draw some attention like that, that's commendable. So it's just not some guy that just lost some weight. It's actually a guy who went the extra 100 miles.
I've trained with some big names,
and you helped him.
Showing some big, just with the training aspect, not with his weight loss. That's something he came to me after he.
No, but I'm just saying, that's he went the extra mile. That guy, man, I was impressed. I was really impressed. So hey, AJ, kudos, bro, and I see you, man. Shout out AJ, bro. Shout out AJ.
Yeah, out of everybody that I've trained with or trained, my family were like, "Hey, you train heavy modified?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Really?
I follow him on Instagram, and I've trained with some.
I haven't met the guy yet. I haven't met him
Yeah,
yet.
I've trained with some very, very, very well known people. But then the part that tripped me out, and I was like, the crazy part is, what's the percentage of obesity in the United States?
It's up there, man.
Yeah.
It's up there.
So he is part of a larger percentage than we are. How many bodybuilders are there?
Well, that's like 1%.
Yeah.
That's less than 1%. Bodybuilders,
So
yeah.
that's when I realized, I was like, man, what he did was based at a larger percentage of obesity in the United States.
Yeah.
That's why more people are related to that
Yeah.
than they are to a bodybuilder.
Well,
A bodybuilder is never going to
fish.
get as much attention as someone like him is. Yeah. Because it's sad to say, but it's more accepted.
It's more accepted and it's also more noticed because
Like,
you can relate to that. More people in the United States are going to relate to that.
Like, it's a lot of people, whether they've gotten to like 500 pounds, 300 pounds, 200 pounds, obesity is a very big thing.
So let me get back to your injuries. I'm noticing these big old scars here,
boy.
man, and I'm curious about how that happened.
So I was 24, 25. I was shooting for a supplement company I was signed with.
Wait a minute, this has happened during a shoot.
During the shoot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Go on.
And this is when like Instagram was like the beginning before it hit its peak.
Mm-hmm.
And so had my social media, started it, I was filming content. I was shooting and I would always get asked to shoot my legs. My legs were massive.
I remember that.
And so we're doing that. And I was about 309. It was 309 pounds. The heaviest I've ever been. And got straight to warming up.
I want to let the people know what 309 pounds is on a 5'9" body is ginormous. Okay, because I think I've gotten up to 320 and I'm 6'3", so
very uncomfortable.
Yeah, and anytime I go over 290, my breathing is off. That's just me, so I couldn't even imagine. So, but obviously you're throwing around major weight at this time. 309 pounds, ladies and gentlemen.
The amount of weight that I was throwing around, it was just absurd. It was stupid.
Yeah,
I've always been a very strong person.
Mm-hmm.
Genetically, I've always been very strong.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I'm able to push even more weight,
Mm-hmm.
You're going to.
Or you were motivated to by a film crew. I'm assuming.
Squatting 500-600 pounds was normal for me.
Right.
It was just I'm gonna go train. And the funny thing is, when a lot of videographers shot me, they really enjoyed it. Right. And then finally I asked, I was like, "Why do you like shooting me?" They're like, "Because you don't fake anything. Like it's real. Like do this." You're like, "Okay, do this. All right." Like you don't
get to capture real images. Yeah.
Like, and that's what I tell them. I go, "Hey, don't stop me. If you're gonna shoot me, don't stop me. Let me do my thing and just capture everything raw. That's it. I can't fake something." And so got it 600 pounds on the squat. I did it once already, and I was squatting it like 10, 15 times.
Okay, wow, that's good.
No reps.
That's good.
No belt. No nothing.
Yeah, that's good. That's good weight. I know what that weight feels like.
Yeah.
No.
When you're done with that amount of weight, you're just huffing and puffing. You're seeing black.
Oh yeah.
Your oxygen's like
Stars,
restricted.
all that stuff.
And then you have all this weight compressed against your heart. Mm-hmm. So I'm sitting there, and as I'm training, as I'm going through the squat exercises, the videographer goes, "Hey man, can you do it again?" And I said, "Why?" Like the SIM card's full. So when you're recording,
I know
and it just stops.
Wait a minute. So wait a minute. So okay, all right. I'm soaking that in. Okay, so go ahead and pick up another 600 pounds and do it for reps. Okay, go ahead.
And so I do it, no complaints, and I get down to the third or fourth rep. And when I squat, I squat like ass to grass.
Yep, in the bucket. And
I just felt the.
No, was it on the way down or was it on the way up?
When I was already down on the floor.
Oh, so your bands were constricted, everything was tight.
So, it still hurt, but it didn't crush me Didn't do anything like that. I was able to rack the weight, put my stuff down on the floor. My brother was with me, and I look at him and I go, I need you to call an ambulance. He goes, what's going on? I said, I think I just tore my quads.
Wow. And there's just both quads.
Yeah.
Both quads.
When I went into surgery, my doctor told me, he's like, one, I've never seen anybody tear two muscles at the same time.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
That's one thing. It's like you are the first person I've ever heard.
Was I tore them in the exact same place on both legs. So it was like an exact tear.
No way.
And
that's like almost impossible.
Well, the part that tripped him out, he goes, your form and balance had to have been perfect.
Yeah.
Because if you were slightly off, then you would have went to one side.
That is crazy.
But he's like, they tore, like he's like, you have the most beautiful muscles that I've ever seen.
Had.
Thank you. So like,
what? So you literally, but that's like an anomaly.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I've never seen someone say, yeah, I tore both. I'm like, normally I think like, man, did you get hit by a truck or something? Because I mean, for you to tear like literally like both quads at the same time, same location, same place, that's an anomaly, ladies and gentlemen. That does not ever happen. So go on, please.
Yeah, so I went through that, man, and it was also during a time in my life where I was on the crossroads of bodybuilding. Where I was like, man, it wasn't fun for me anymore.
Became a job.
It wasn't fun for me anymore. I didn't feel like eating. Just trying to figure out like what I want to do with my life.
Right.
I like working. I physically like to like working. I'm not one that has to have like I can't do an office job.
Right.
I like to physically work. I like to put things together. I like to move things. That's just my preference. And so when that happened to me, I ended up in bed. I was bedridden. And I couldn't move.
Wow.
But this is why I tell people, I'm like, you don't appreciate things until things are taken away.
Yeah.
And for me, the ability to get up to even get myself a drink of water was out of the picture. You know, how easy is it to ask you to give me that bottle of water over there? It's simple. I couldn't even do that. Wow. And, you know, it was I wasn't going to call it a reality check because even after some people were like, oh man, you were just you know, obviously like, it's funny when you do something or something happens, there's always a negativity behind it. And I told one guy one thing and I said, you train hard, right? Yeah. I said, well, I pushed myself so hard that I injured myself. I said, so how hard do you really go?
Right.
Because when I train now, I don't train to injure myself. I didn't squat that much weight to injure myself. I was able to do it consistently whenever I train legs. It just happened to turn out the wrong way that time. And that's okay. I don't regret it. And, you know, after people would say things, I'm like, well, first of all, don't talk to me about training hard. I tore my quads.
Yeah.
You know, I said,
yeah.
That
alone right there. Yeah.
You know, I remember my leg days with Chris. You know, we'd be pressing 20 plates on a leg press for 20 reps, slow and controlled. You know, squatting, you know, hack squat, 5, 6 plates on each side, you know, leg extension, the entire stack, you know, exploding and contracting on the top of the movement as hard as you can.
Chris does not play.
He does not play.
Yeah.
To be able to get through that isn't you're not doing that to injure yourself. You're doing that because you're pushing your body to an extreme. In order for your body to change, you have to put it under constant tension. That's the only way you're going to build the muscle you need for bodybuilding competitions. And a lot of people don't understand that.
Not at all.
It's very simple to just throw something. But then you have to control everything. And I still do that now, even after the injury, which happened, 8 years ago. I can, you know, press 150-pound dumbbells, 175-pound dumbbells, 200-pound dumbbells, and I don't throw the weight. I was known for having that, you know, that form. And that's what I tell guys. Your training is going to develop the type of muscle that you need. Now, if you want that kind of like skinny, long muscle that when you turn to the side, you just go gone. I said, that's what you're going to look like.
Yeah.
But if you want that roundness, that density, that separation, I said, you're going to have to kill yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of guys don't want to do.
Yeah.
They get a taste of it. They're like, oh, that's hard. Well, they'll do it once. And then you've seen this. They'll come train with you. And then they don't hit you back up anymore.
Yeah, no, it's done. It's done. I remember Charles Glass got some of those workouts too. So yeah, and no, how did that affect you, man? Because I remember seeing you at a competition once, and then the first time you were telling me that you got up with crutches, I was like, dude, bro, what happened? And I noticed a whole different shift in energy in you. How did that affect you going through that? Like how like what did you do to come up out of that? Because I know that was a hard thing to do. Because now it's like, yeah, you were kind of on your way out. You were done, but not like that. I know you didn't want it to go like that. There's no way. So how did you feel? Like, how did you overcome coming through an injury like this? Because I know there's a lot of people out there that, you know, might be tearing things right now or about to tear something that's going to see this video, and they're going to want to know, like, how did you do it? How did you come through it? How did you motivate yourself to become back to normal Horacio, the one guy I know, you know?
Discipline.
Yeah.
Screw motivation.
Yeah.
You can go on YouTube and watch a video that's going to motivate you with some motivational speaker that's going to tell you to get up off your bed and, you know, screw the world.
That kind of helps when I'm motivated. That helps when I'm motivated. It doesn't help me get motivated.
I don't listen to motivational speakers. I don't watch motivational videos. I don't do any of that. And the reason why is because somebody is writing that based on how they feel.
Yeah, I honestly think a lot of those videos are kind of just handwritten, and then they'll come up, you know.
Like, it doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Like, what is that guy focusing on? Whatever he's going to focus on.
Being motivated or saying motivational stuff. His motivation is coming from being motivational. So that's like you being a bodybuilder. It's the same thing. It's like, you know, that's his job. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to well, it does help certain people. Certain people are helped by it.
Certain people
are helped
Certain
by
people do, but I don't.
I'm not taking away anything.
I don't depend on that.
No, you can't.
I depend on the ability to sit there and say, what am I going to do?
Right.
If I don't know how to do it, I better figure it out.
Right.
And that's how this was.
How long did that go for?
My recovery was about a year.
Wow. A year.
Yeah.
And that's both quads being.
So I had to lose weight while I was in bed because I weighed so much that my legs weren't going to be able to sustain my upper body.
Wow.
So I had to start dieting during that too, and which wasn't, you know, it wasn't hard, but it also was like,
no comfort
I don't
food.
want to do this right now.
Yeah.
You know, so there came a point where I wouldn't eat at all. So when you're food is energy. If you're not putting out energy, then you can't consume all this food and expect your body to just burn it off, especially if you understand how food works. So I was like, well, I can't sit here and just eat cheeseburgers and McDonald's whenever I want. I said, I'm going to get fat. And that's not going to be good because I need to get up to start walking. And so kind of clean my diet up and stuff. And then day by day, I would watch the sun go up and I'd watch the sun go down. Yeah. You know, and if I needed something, I had a long pole, and I had to knock on the wall, because I had to get back. They brought me back to my parents' house.
Really, you had to knock on the wall because getting up and down wasn't an easy task.
So I couldn't move.
But I still saw you at bodybuilding shows.
So that was after when I was in my my walker.
Oh wow,
that was after.
So how long did you have to sit there with torn quads without being able to move? How long?
In bed, probably about a month.
Wow, that must have been awful.
And that I couldn't even take a shower.
Wow.
My mom had to give me a sponge bath.
Really?
Yeah. Because my legs were so big that they couldn't cast me. So they had to wrap me, and then they had to put bands over, and then this giant sleeve that looked like a giant taco.
Oh my God.
And then under all that, there was metal braces for my hips all the way down to my ankle. So my legs were just straight consistent. They couldn't be bent. Because what happened was when they drilled through my kneecap, they pulled the tear down and then reattached it because I tore them off the patella tendon.
Oh, wow.
So like my
That's
actual
straight up
muscle
off
bellies.
the patella.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't tear the muscle bellies, which is great.
Yeah, thank goodness.
But came right off on top of the kneecap. And because even after like the day that I tore them, I was like still walking, but I couldn't walk with my knees being bent. I had to walk with like kind of like stilts.
Oh, okay.
And that's how I got around until they took me into surgery a couple days later.
Wow, man.
But it's honestly, it's really hard to explain because so many emotions go through it where you're just like, man, I just want to go for a walk.
Right.
You know, I just want to go for a walk. I just want to go for a drive. Like you actually start to miss the small things, the simple things. Like there's a park around the corner. I'll go sit at the park and just see people. I couldn't sit in there anymore. And that's the part that drove me crazy. And that was the hardest part for me. Yeah. It wasn't even going to the gym. Wow. I didn't care about that. I just wanted to get out of the house.
Yeah.
You know, I just wanted to go somewhere, you know, like when you get comfortable and you start doing things on your own and people invite you places, you're like, nah, I'm good. You know, you start to even miss that. Like, man, like nobody wants to hang out with me, you know, because I basically built my life around bodybuilding that everybody knew me as like, oh, he doesn't go out. He didn't do this. He didn't do that. Yeah. So people stop asking.
Well, that's what successful people do. They don't hang out with people that want to hang out anyway. So you already had your zone. You were already dedicated to your craft. You were already locked in. So, you know, and then plus it doubles down on your injury, which you're already not going to do anything anyways. Yeah. So no one's going to come. You don't build relationships like that. But also the people you go out and party with aren't exactly the people that are going to call you anyways.
Oh, absolutely.
So, you probably were stuck with like, you know, that. But man, just to be able to see you come back. And to be able to make you have such a journey and start to become successful all over again in a whole new genre and atmosphere, whether it not be competing, but to be able to see that transition from you, to be able to be training with all these people that we know, these highly successful influencers, or these people that really are making an impact on people's lives, you being one of them, it's got to be one of the stories that I'm most happy to tell about. You know, it really does, because like it's not an easy injury to come back, losing pretty much everything that you were, and then being able to come back and just destroy a whole nother obstacle or a whole nother avenue of this sport. So my hat is off to you, brother.
Thank you.
And I got to give it to you. So,
thank you.
Horacio, man, it's been a pleasure. It's been a complete and utterly big time pleasure, brother. As always, man. Always good to see you, man. And man, I hope to hear some more and have you back on the show.
Oh, absolutely. Right. And thank you for having me.
Big Daddy Swolls TV. We out.
The Big Tank